Hello, Dan. How are you doing today?
Magic, I'm very well, thank you. How are you?
I know that you've been traveling a lot for the Evolve Group meetings, right? How is it going?
Yeah, brilliant start to 2025. So we've had, of course, the past 2 weeks, we've had our IT Nation Evolve MSP owner and leader Q1 peer group meetings up in Edinburgh. And then the week after, we were joined by our role-based members. So that's leaders within MSP businesses within the disciplines of sales, security, and service. So coming together in different groups per discipline to help each other to grow their own knowledge, to see what each other are doing, what success looks like for them, to learn from one another, share what works, share what doesn't work, and help each other to find success. So it's been a great couple of weeks, and we had the privilege of being joined in Edinburgh by Sir Clive Woodward, England World Cup rugby winning coach, 2003, of course. Apologies to any Australian maybe watching us today. No hard feelings. You've beaten us plenty of times since. But it was, a really privileged to learn from Sir Clive, delivering a masterclass in leadership, and also, as they call it, the DNA of a champion. You know, what makes an amazing team member and how do you cultivate that? So yeah, that's been brilliant. Great start to the year, and of course, all eyes on IT Nation Connect Europe now.
I've heard a lot of good feedback from the partners about those Evolve groups and the peer groups concept, where people basically meet on a quarterly basis, if I understand correctly, and they discuss this one big thing that they have in mind, this kind of a challenge that they need to address, and they use this peer group concept to contrast and compare best practices and collaboration. There's always this one person, leading the group that can provide additional color, additional perspective on the concept. That's how it works, right?
Absolutely. So, distill down with Evolve, as a community, we meet once a quarter. Our members have 2-day peer group meetings where they're in a room with roughly around 10 other businesses, some people with one person from the business, some with multiple. But we try not to go much higher than 10 because it gives you the right balance of conversation in the room, but also not too many voices and too many opinions. View it as like having a board of directors to you, for you, and with you, of people who do what you do, who have the same challenges, the same opportunities. They might have a different destination. You know, they might be pitching towards and have a goal that's different to yours. But broadly speaking, the wonderful thing is we find the journeys that we all share are very, very similar. So although you might look for an M&A exit within 5 years, I might be looking to build operational maturity within my business. We're going to see the same problems and challenges, opportunities and threats as we go through that journey, even though we're going in different directions. So Evolve members, for me, it's about three things: support, challenge, and accountability. And we do that in a number of ways. First of all, by the culture of the community and how we engage and how we show up for each other. But we also do it with our tool sets, such as Service Leadership Index benchmarking, where we bring truth into the room with financial numbers that shows your amazing quarter could be my great quarter, or my great quarter could be your average quarter. Words can be deceptive. Numbers tell a story. And so that's where benchmarking comes in for us. But
What
yeah,
was
with me, support, challenge, accountability, that's where it comes in.
what is really interesting and what was always amazing for me when I listen to the partners is the willingness to share and support each other. It looks like in the MSP community, people are willing to share a lot between themselves. How does it work? Are they not competitors to each other?
They are, but they gain more than the gains they do receive are far greater than any of the perceived negatives. And by the way, you quickly realize that the perceived negatives are actually not the negatives. There are, as the saying goes, there are plenty of fish in the sea. And rather than us all say those 10 businesses in just one of our Evolve groups, and we have 6 business owner and leader groups in Europe. Let's say that all 10 of them embark on the same strategy around go-to-market for cybersecurity. So they're all going to spend money on messaging, on product development, on product testing and awareness, and going into a deep dive into what their solution could look like. Now imagine, number one, the speed, but second of all, the physical cost savings in terms of not burning time and energy that they could do if each person contributed their skills and expertise. Just imagine not just like the things we don't have to do to bring that product to market, but then also the speed at which we can be executing. Because as we all know, The quicker we can get something out into the marketplace, the quicker we can start writing that monthly recurring revenue, the faster we can start building our service offering, then that compounds upon itself. So that's where we want to be, on speed and execution in the market. So what Evolve members can bring to each other, not just in terms of that's one example with product development, but with leadership development, with organizational structure, with financial metrics of, I think this is good, but really I've only got my four walls for measurement and for comparison. What I'd love to see is what other businesses are doing, because we think what we charge is about right. You know, it's always someone's going to be saying we're too cheap, and someone's going to be saying we're too expensive and we're losing business. We've only got opinion and argument really for those two things to happen. With the power of the peer group, we can see actively what other businesses in the market are doing, what they're achieving, and how we can be successful too. So as I said, quickly people realize actually what I'm receiving here, the benefits that I get and the speed at which I can move with the knowledge that I'm receiving, and also which I'm sharing with the group so that others can do the same, outweighs any perceived negativity. And there's so many businesses out there for us to do business with. Fortunately, we're in a marketplace where we are not having a finite number of clients that we work with, and that's something I think that gets overlooked far too often.
You mentioned just a few minutes ago, and I've also heard it from George 2 weeks ago when I spoke with him about the IT Nation, and from several partners, the mysterious SLIQ concept, or Service Leadership Index benchmark, if I understand it correctly. And I promised George that I'm going to have a conversation with someone from ConnectWise, from service leadership team, about the concept, the tool, the idea. Would you be willing to share a little bit about the SLIQ concept, how it works, what it is?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. So within Evolve, first of all, so in the context of how we use these tools within the community, because it shows application, we use two of Service Leadership's tool set to aid our members in their conversation. Number one is financial benchmarking, Service Leadership Index, as we know it. And number two, we love acronyms in this industry, don't we? Is SLIQ, which actually isn't an acronym. It's a name, but it sounds like an acronym. I often get asked what it stands for, and like, it doesn't. It is what it is, SLIQ. So we'll focus on SLIQ today. Financial benchmarking, I've already spoken about in terms of people bringing truth into our room and knowing what good looks like through easy comparison of financial numbers. So benchmarking our industry by bringing everybody into a common set of P&L, general ledger, chart of accounts, whatever your local geography determines would be the naming there, so that we can compare apples for apples of where we're putting our revenue and costs, so that between you and I as separate businesses, we've got the ability to actually compare and contrast our services. So we'll park that one for another day with financial benchmarking. But when we're looking at SLIQ,
I'm sensing another video with you then, Dan.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's all about the fun with numbers, as Peter Kajawa calls it. I love it. Let's have fun with numbers. With SLIQ, SLIQ is best thought of as, first of all, the way I introduce it to people is a consultant in a box. So we want to help you on your journey. So we're here. We want to climb the mountain. Broadly speaking, we probably know the areas where we need help, because we've all come at our businesses from a background. That could be a technical background. It could be a commercial background. Usually we know our strengths and we know the areas that it's not our strong point, and that's where we could use help. What SLIQ helps us to do is to benchmark our business in terms of how we do what we do. We'll talk about that a little bit more in a second. Then also what comes next and how you can get there. So I'll give a couple of illustrative examples in a minute. I will have attempt technology, and we're going to have a go at doing a little bit of screen share and put some pictures to words. But to rewind slightly, within managed services, I'm a firm believer, it is not what you do, it is how you do it. And I'll say what I mean by that. Broadly speaking, if you distill down into, if we were investors from completely out of the market, so we work in investment banking, private equity, and we are new to IT managed services, and we've never seen anyone before, but we decided it's an industry we want to look at. If we come into the industry with no knowledge whatsoever, I reckon broadly speaking, we'd be looking at 10 businesses and saying these services have a lot in common. So people are offering obviously baseline support services, subscription services, and then they're bringing managed services over the top of those to be highly profitable. So cybersecurity, managed print, managed comms, you name it. That's where the wonderful shopping list comes in, that we can all go and build wonderful managed services on top of our baseline. Now, broadly speaking, that's what we do. How we do it makes a difference. So when you go and talk to, say, 10 businesses and you divide them by profitability. So let's look at the businesses at the top, the best in class, as service leadership will call it, and I'll refer to. So top 25% by profitability, and then going into the median businesses of those, and then the lower quartile. When you peel the layers back behind their numbers and you ask, how do you do what you do? Talk to us about how you run your service team. Talk to us about how you run your sales team. Broadly speaking, and these are to quote the words of Paul Dipple, one of the founders of Service Leadership, that I've hung on to for many, many years because it describes it perfectly. You find these things in common. The people in the lower quartile, broadly speaking, are all making the same mistakes. The people in the median have all learned what those mistakes are and have stopped doing them. And the people in the upper quartile, the best in class, they've all learned the best way to do it. And it doesn't matter where you are, who your clients are. So just because you're in London and I'm somewhere, in a different part of Europe or anything, doesn't matter. It doesn't matter that you're looking after lawyers and I'm looking after a different industry vertical. Everyone loves to find excuses for why someone is more profitable than they are. It becomes very simple. People have learned what the best in class are doing, the highest profitable way of running an IT services business. And they've adopted, and they hold people accountable to deliver to those processes. So it isn't what you do. It isn't because you're doing security and I'm not, although everyone should be doing security. It isn't about anything like that. It's about, we are running a machine, and that machine is highly dialed in on its processes. This is how our business operates. This is who we do business with. This is what it means to be a client. And these are the processes that we follow to not only guarantee a great service to our clients, but to guarantee that to us as shareholders, it is profitable at the end of the quarter, year, month you choose. So SLIQ helps us to get there. SLIQ is a way of looking at, number one, where we are today, then where do we want to be tomorrow, and the next day, and the months down the line. And then critically, because it's all well and good, we probably know the areas where we're challenged. How do you get there? And that's the part where really the value comes in with SLIQ, are the tools within the model, within the tool that help you, as I said, like a consultant in a box. I don't know, anyone listening, here's something that might be a familiar situation to you. You work with a great business consultant and you love them. Doesn't matter what discipline that consultant works in. Whichever day they arrive at your office, I bet you it's not the best one. Because client's got an emergency, your team member's not in today. There's always something, isn't there? There's always something. And then someone says, oh, that person's in reception for you. And you go, oh, no. Oh, no. The brilliant part with SLIQ is it can be operated and used around your existing management framework and at a time that works for you, the business, and the team. So that is critical. Right.
Do I understand correctly, Dan, that SLIQ is a form of, it's a way of assessing your company?
Yes.
Versus the best in class, and there are tools and guidance and information within SLIQ that help the MSP to basically move from the lower quartile to the top quartile. Is that the essence of it?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. So benchmarking where you currently sit via a number of multiple choice questions around the 6 different functional areas of your business. So by those functional areas, what do I mean? Strategy, finance, sales, service, compensation, and then lastly, and a brand new module as of about 2 weeks ago, security and compliance. So by measuring different controls, we call them traits within SLIQ. So that's the name for them, different traits within the tool that will then generate you an operational maturity level score. Talk more about operational maturity level in a second. And then across overall, and then across those 6 different functional areas, I will say 5 functional areas at the moment because it's a force of habit, because we have a brand new module. And then it shows you within those functional areas how you can grow your operational maturity, but also, and again, very critically, what the return on investment is going to be from tackling different areas in a specific order. because we've always got stuff we can do in businesses, always. You and I can name 100 things that we could go and work on right now within our businesses, but which ones are going to bring us the biggest return? Because we're all finite with our time.
Okay, so it's not only the assessment and the guidance, but it's also helping to prioritize where to start. What are the biggest opportunities for you to kind of get to a better profitability, better outcomes that you're looking for?
100%. Let me just try and share my screen. One
Go
second.
ahead.
Give me a second. Entire screen. Here we go. Right, share. So hopefully, there we go. Magic of technology. So I've already mentioned operational maturity level, OML. In our parlance, I said we love an acronym within this industry. So operational maturity level, first of all, rather than what is it there to safeguard against and protect? And again, boils down to 3 areas, in my opinion. As we grow, we stress our processes, we stress our teams. The things that we built have to scale with us so that they can meet the needs of the business in the form it finds itself in today, rather than where it was when we built them. I know that the MSP that I was part of for around about 10 years as part of the leadership team of a business that we doubled in size through an M&A journey of both buying in businesses and then lastly being acquired ourselves. There were ceilings that we hit whereby we hovered around there for a while, because you grow and then you contract a little bit, then you grow back again, and you realize, right, we've got to do this a bit differently, because what we're doing is we're hitting that ceiling that we can't get past. So between profitability leaks, quality issues that arise from processes that just aren't really doing what they need to now, the scale that you're operating at, and then those scalability ceilings that you just got to try and push through. That's what operational maturity is there to help you overcome. So by benchmarking OML and by helping people to grow it, just move on, we use SLIQ. So within the tool itself, we've already spoken about, there are 4 steps. So first of all, assess. So going through with a leadership team, because you need the people that are responsible for those functional areas within your business, and going through, apologies, there are 5 of those functional areas in that screenshot. I have to go and update some stuff across a number of different multiple choice questions. If in doubt, score yourself down. If you're between a B and a C, give yourself the B, because it's going to give you a more accurate, reflective score at the end of it and going to give you a truer picture of where things sit. It's then going to give us an operational maturity score, show that in a second, across the 6 functional areas, and an overall score. From there, we move into diagnosis, where we look at the different areas that we can go and attack to grow our profitability and to grow our operational maturity. And then we can create an action plan with owners within the business. So we're going to tackle our value creation strategy, and that's going to be the responsibility of the business owner or the majority shareholder, managing director, CEO. Or we're going to tackle our lead generation, top of funnel lead gen, and that's going to be owned by our marketing leader, for example. And then, of course, we reassess and we repeat. We go back through, we re-benchmark, we see the progress that we've made, and we plan the next. Activity that's going to carry on to grow our OML. So within the tool itself, apologies, there's quite a lot going on the slide, so I'll try and talk through. First of all, top left, we see our overall operational maturity level, So it's out of 5 with 1 decimal place. Anyone gets more than a 4, and we'll happily help you pick that one apart. So it's 3.1, might look like a bit of an average score. Trust me, it is not. It is not an exercise in scoring a perfect 5. If anything, I would say that when people do their second assessment, it usually goes down as everyone's a little bit more realistic the second time around, whereas first time there's a little bit of overconfidence going on in there, and people get more real. The more real you are, the better the tool. Sorry.
Because this assessment is based on your own answers to the question. So basically, it's not based on any specific, you don't load any numbers into the system. You basically answer the question. So
Absolutely.
It could be that you are a little bit too optimistic because you don't fully understand or fully appreciate the challenges yet. The second time around you do that, you kind of are becoming, okay, I was a little bit too happy with myself. Now I understand, I look in the mirror and it doesn't look that great as I thought it
Absolutely.
is.
Absolutely. So what SLIQ's going to give us is also then a list of traits down there on the left-hand side where there's a mouse cursor hovering. Now those traits are not ranked by the score in which you achieved. They are ranked by, as we mentioned earlier, the return on investment that you're going to receive from tackling these challenges within your business, because that's what we want. We want to go for the things that are going to give us the biggest payout. They're going to give us the biggest return on our investment from investing time and people and resources into fixing them and improving them. So, for example, kicking the year off right, which is the title of one of our traits, in which we've scored a 2.4. Or picking on a different one, actually. So 3.3, cross-sell execution, we've got a 3.3 there. That's a higher operational maturity score than thought leadership marketing, in which we scored a 2.8. However, cross-sell execution is going to, becoming better at cross-sell execution is going to generate us a higher return on investment than attacking our thought leadership marketing strategy. Because if we can go and fill all that magic white space inside of our client base, if we can be out there cross-promoting our managed services into people that might buy subscription services from us today, they may buy managed print from us today or managed telephony. If we could be cross-selling services in there and we can become better at that as an organization, it's going to create a far bigger return on investment for us.
So sorry, I got lost a little bit. So your
Please.
individual scores on the traits show you the level of maturity, and the position on the list shows you where to start. So I should be starting with the kicking the year of right as the most important, even though, and I scored 2.4 out of 5. So there's a gap, obviously.
Absolutely.
But there is, at the very bottom of the story, is adoption of MS among top 50 customers. It's even worse than that. But because it's the last one on the list, it will probably generate the least amount of gains for the organization in terms of return on investment.
Bearing in mind what you've scored in other areas, so it's all related to one another. But you're correct. So the reason with kicking the year off right, because if we're not going into a year, be it financial year or calendar year, whichever is relevant to your business, with an actionable, agreed, and achievable business plan that your leadership team are bought into, I would argue that most of the things are going to fall by the wayside, because what will happen very quickly is different departments will start executing on what they believe is important and urgent right now, and they aren't going to be aligning on a central plan. Now, that central plan, by the way, could be adoption of managed services amongst your top 50 customers. There's no reason that couldn't be in your plan. But if it's not in the plan, it could be important to one team, could be important to your sales team. It may not be important to your service team. So we've got to align behind the plan.
If you fail to plan, you plan to fail.
Absolutely,
right?
absolutely.
Okay.
You either got your plan or you're part of somebody else's. Is another way that we like to look at it with an Evolve, and they don't think about you very much. So it's, again, looking at how we can align behind the right people in the right place at the right time. Moving on, we won't go through the text, don't worry, but looking at this example trait of cross-sell execution, we then have 3 areas of information up here at the top. First of all, what do we mean? What is the business principle behind the trait? So explaining what this subject area is referring to. Then the level characteristics of at your operational maturity level. So we're a 3.3 within cross-sell execution. What does a business look like? What are they executing on well? Where are they finding challenges within this trait at that OML? So it's all bespoke to the operational maturity level that you've scored at. And then lastly, the guidance, which is how do we improve? Now, that doesn't mean how do we go from being a 3.3 to a 5, because that will be unattainable. It means how do we make incremental gains? What will be the next rung of the ladder for you to improve at cross-sell execution? So that's where the consultant within a box comes in that's working on your timescales. And then backed up by, linked to, at the bottom of the screen, a number of different implementation assets that you can use. So that can be a combination of web-based tools, so interactive web-based tools, videos, spreadsheets, documents, whatever is relevant to that specific area. SLIQ gives you the information that you need to go and then be successful. So, we're all used to web-based surveys and scores and things giving us, ratings about how good we are at something. There's value there, but the real value is in the implementation assets that you can work with your leadership team in order to build that cadence and rhythm and have the insights to say, right, this is what we're going to follow in order to become better at this. We've got the tools we need to go out and be successful. And very simply, where do they come from? Where are those implementation assets coming from? To rewind, They are coming back to what the best in class are doing for what we observe within the best in class, highest profitability MSPs that there are within the globe from our consulting and benchmarking partner base and universe of how do we help, how can we show you what they're doing to help you align to that.
So you get a list of priorities. If you click on each and every priority, you get a short overview of what you should do to improve. And then at the bottom, you have a list of things that will help you to make this improvement, those incremental steps to get the better score and the better ROI.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
Pretty cool.
Absolutely. A little bit of detail on some of them as well. So if we go into the security and compliance functional area, just see a little bit of information about some of what the traits are assessing. There can be multiple questions under each trait. So this is our brand new security and compliance module. So again, like incident management, journey and culture, governance and compliance, risk management, security offering, monetization, and adoption amongst your partner base. So again, looking at a holistic view of how a modern service provider, IT service provider, can look at security. So that's both how do you view security as the MSP, because as a business looking after the technology of tens, hundreds, thousands of businesses, you have to have a strong security culture internally. But then also, how do you take that culture out to your clients? And how do you go and educate, inform, and of course, undertake commercial relationships with them to help them improve also. So looking at different ways, not just around product and not just around solution sales, but also how can we assess the health and the operational maturity of your business from a security and compliance standpoint. The answer, by the way, to some of these may be none at the moment. There's nothing wrong with that. To go through some questions and say, we do not currently do any of this. That's fine. Don't worry, again, that there can be a perception of, I can't join the gym because I'm not good enough to join the gym yet. It's nothing of the sort, if you know what I mean. SLIQ can be there to help people build the journey. It's not just about refining something that already exists. There is nothing wrong with starting with a score of with a very, very low score in an area, because you're going to see those improvements. It's going to give you the ability to get your leadership team around a table, plan who's going to do what within the action plan section of SLIQ, assign the owners, diarize in the time, plan in the time, and go out and execute.
I really like this because, it looks like SLIQ is evolving, with the market. So obviously security and compliance is a big topic in the MSP world nowadays. So it's great to see, the new module that will help the partners to assess where they are on the journey, because some of them already started, but some of them didn't. And that's the high time to kind of get to know this concept well. And looks like they can start from zero and then can move, step by step to the hopefully to the level of 5 at a certain point in time, although it's not attainable. So I guess it's
it's easy to build something. I always say to people, again, this is one of the conversations we have with people joining Evolve, and there can be a concern from some people that I'm not quite ready, and I want to talk to me again in 6 months because we're not quite ready for it yet. And I appreciate I would say this, and I'm quite open about that. But I don't buy it. I don't see that as being a concern. Isn't it better to build something where you don't then have to course correct and change? Because that's hard. Changing anything that's established is really difficult. How often have we been in situations in businesses, it doesn't matter how big or small, where we do this because it's what we've always done? And I'd like people to build habits, processes, and culture that are highly profitable and scalable, and that's what SLIQ's helping you to do. That is easier when you're building that from the ground up, many may argue, than when you're having to turn the battleship months, years down the line, because that's tough. That's really hard.
It's like listening to my wife, who recently started to learn new technique in tennis, and she says my biggest problem is I have to unlearn the stuff that I've learned for years. Okay. And I know that many partners, especially value-added resellers, that are out there and are in this kind of they've been doing it for 20 years, and it worked, and it worked perfectly well.
Yeah.
20 years ago, 10 years ago, even 5 years ago, but they now see that the ground is moving beneath their feet, and this is the world is changing significantly, and that's a perfect moment to kind of start the journey of the transformation, no matter where you are. Okay, and there's a lot of help. There is a lot of help in tools like SLIQ for sure.
Huge, yeah, huge. And the wider community. Again, like think about this from our peer group perspective, with all of our members using SLIQ. So they all have a SLIQ report, they all have their operational maturity report. If I go back to one of those to the slide with the traits, then with our score, excuse me, then let's say this is we're sat in a peer group room, this is my SLIQ report. If I have a challenge around year planning, kicking the year off right, imagine you've already been there, you're really excelling. You've got a planning process that's dialed in, that's working. You've got even something as sort of low hanging fruit, such as a template that you use. Like, this is our planning template. We refine it every year, but broadly speaking, we start with the previous year and we adapt. Sharing that within the peer group room and giving people access. Again, we're not reinventing the wheel. We're taking what works from one another. We're making it individual to our needs and businesses, because all of our businesses are unique. It's not a case of trying to make identical businesses. It's about keeping your entrepreneurial brand flair and what your clients buy into, the brand that they're buying into, but also showing you how you can adapt that in order to be highly profitable and scalable. So by sharing in the Evolve room and using SLIQ as a common language, it means we're talking about the same thing. Like, we could be using very different words, but discussing the same thing. SLIQ gives us the way of using common words. That means we can help each other easier and faster.
How many questions are in SLIQ? How many questions do people have to answer? Because you mentioned the 5 areas, now 6 areas.
I'll get in trouble from Peter from this one. It's around about the 100 mark, that is less than, if you mean. So it's not arduous. Here's some guidance, because I undertook the consulting. That we have a consulting certification for SLIQ, which I undertook earlier last year, middle of last year. For your first assessment, I would allow somewhere in the region of about 6 hours to sit with a leadership team and do it properly. And that doesn't mean we're going to give you 100,000 words that you've got to read through. What it means is we're considered. We're not going through and just sort of gut reflexing it and saying, oh, that'll be fine. Yeah, give it a B, give that one a D or anything along those lines. We're actually considering what the traits are saying. We're trying to understand them. And we're trying to just get that initial pass of what it is. By the way, when we're looking in future quarters and we're doing check-ins, so we're going through our goals and actions, I can't see that taking more than probably between 1 and 2 hours.
But once you know the concept, you probably go through the stuff and you know where to make the changes, rather than like.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And the tool makes that very straightforward and easy. It's all UI driven. It's all just web driven. So it's very, very straightforward. But for no other reason really than to give the headspace that this is going to need to really be effective for you. Like so many things in life, we can really commit to something and we'll see gain, or we can sort of go through something and we won't see as much gain. It's like to genuinely commit, get people on side, get the team members all bought into the concept of what we're going to do, the language that the tool uses, and to leave with an understanding of, I know my bit and I know what I've got to go and attack and what I've got to go and do. And I know the benefit it's going to bring us as a team when we all kind of meet up, and then we're going to push those changes into action. As an initial hit, I would probably say, let's do a management meeting day. Let's get people around the table, and let's do a table read of this. Let's go through. Let's attack it as a group, and give it the time it deserves, rather than making it like the last item on the agenda for an all-day meeting, where don't view it as answering the questions, view it as understanding the concepts, and then that's going to give people the biggest reward. By the way, I'm fortunate to see M&A within our space is huge at the moment. So many people's business goals and destinations at the moment happens to be M&A, because it's something that's so prevalent in our industry. There are big rewards and there are big shareholder returns available within our market at the moment within managed services. So it's an extremely valuable market to be in, which is a wonderful, it's the golden era of managed services when it comes to the investment that exists within the industry.
But even if you're running your own business just because you just love the space, getting your company being more valuable means being more valuable not only to investors or potential investors, but also to your customers, because this operational maturity is going to transfer not only to the biggest value that you deliver to your stakeholders or to yourself if you are the only stakeholder, but also to your customers, because those traits, improving on those traits, means also improving your ability to satisfy your customer better, isn't it?
It does. It does. It's providing a consistent, predictable, and repeatable service to your customers that they value. And that's the end goal, not zero, up and down. If we get it to the right people and we press it as urgent, it's going to be great. Otherwise, we might be firefighting and we might drop the ball. It's about trying to gain that consistency and grow a consistent service that we deliver across the board. So we're winning new clients, we're onboarding them, we're servicing them, and we're growing them. And we're not having, and those processes, are happening all the time within our businesses. That's where we see the real gains to be made. But when I do see people that go on the M&A journey and they're successful, and of course afterwards there are big smiles and usually a few bottles going pop somewhere in the background, and you talk to people afterwards and you say, how did you get there? What did you use? What were the tricks? What if you could reflect and you could try and distill it down to things that weren't unique to you and your business, you as an entrepreneur, or to your business, what tips would you give other people? And I'm just saying this because we're talking about it. People say, I follow what was in SLIQ. It's all in there. I see what's in there. I got under the hood of it. I'll give you an example. Within SLIQ, there is a web-based tool called the Value Creation Planner. Value creation is the foundation of SLIQ because it is about shareholder value. What do we, as shareholders, as being the extra child around the dinner table that is our business, how do we ensure that it is giving us the value that it needs to for the time, energy, and quite frankly, emotion that we sink into our business, the heartache that goes into it. The Value Creation Planner allows you to make a diagnostic and to make a growth chart amongst a number of different areas in the business that says, I need this business to be here by this time. This is the value target, and this is the timeline that I need it to be there. And off the back of that, the value creation tool will give you stats such as the number of clients that you need to win, the number of leads you need to be generating in order to win those clients, the profitability that you need to be generating from your team members. So the ratio of the revenue that you're receiving in from the salaries that you're paying out, and where that needs to track over time. Many others, but I'll give you an example of where things are. But people say, I have a value creation plan. I stuck to it. We use the topics that were within the traits and that were within the diagnostic tool to teach us how to do the bits that we weren't very good at. And you know what? It worked. And you're like, I love the simplicity. One thing you see with really, really successful business owners, not just at acquisition, but everything is, they approach things with a very simple, very matter-of-fact mindset. I appreciate that. I value it. It's a wonderful thing about working with entrepreneurs. So yeah, it's a very powerful tool.
It's a very powerful tool. Is this very powerful tool also useful when you are maybe just at the very, very early stage of becoming an MSP? You're currently in a completely box moving business. How would that tool help? Is this really going to be simple enough? Is it not going to introduce too much complexity for the resellers?
No, it's not. Here's the thing I would say. When again, resellers run phenomenally successful businesses, and so that we're in the fortunate position of we're not fixing something that's broken. We're adding something brilliant that's going to help take things to the next level and climb a new mountain. We're not leaving anything behind. We're adding to. That's a wonderful place to be. People should be very proud of the businesses that they built. Very hard doing something different because we always come back to what we've always done. And it can be difficult sometimes. It can be tough. What you need, in my opinion, is a neutral voice in the room that helps to give you the right way to do something and paint that map of how we're going to go up the mountain. That then isn't you trying to tell people to change. Change is hard. As human beings, we struggle with change to one degree or another. Some people are more forgiving of it than others. Some can struggle. But having something in the room that is that roadmap, this is what good looks like, this is the goal, means that it's not down to one individual or a small group of individuals to have to paint that picture and in some way sell that dream of where we're heading to. So for a reseller who's looking like, we want to build a valuable managed services practice in addition to our resale business, because our resale business is successful, but we view this as a business area that we could grow into and we could add to. It's just going to give you that North Star to guide yourself, to help you to know what good looks like, to be able to tell a story to your team about where we're going and why, and also to give you the advice, guidance, and insights that otherwise you're going to learn, probably, unfortunately, in some cases through failure. Through hitting the brick wall and saying, right, don't go that way, go that way, and those we want to avoid. The wonderful thing about community and about the MSP space is that there's so much knowledge out there to help people both accelerate but also avoid pitfalls, and that's exactly what both of which SLIQ can help with.
How do I sign up for SLIQ?
So the easiest way, I'm going to quote the great Peter Gajawa on this one, and benchmarking as well, our service leadership benchmarking, both are available as subscriptions, as products, as it's standalone products. By being a member of the IT Nation Evolve peer group community that we spoke about at the beginning, both tools are included in our peer group membership, and our peer group membership is roughly equivalent to buying both of those separately. So view it as having a whole group of people in a room helping you to climb the mountain together, and giving you that North Star and sharing what works and sharing what doesn't on a quarterly basis. View that as being quote unquote free, if you will, because within Evolve, I said, all of our members benchmark and all of our members use SLIQ. So two different options for those that would rather go down a software only route. That's available via our ConnectWise sales team, and very easily to show you that. Of course, come to IT Nation Connect Europe, and you can see the tools in action. You can meet the people who write them, and also you can get to know the team here at ConnectWise. But so, for those who are thinking,
in London, between the 10th and the 12th of March, there's
absolutely.
IT Nation Connect Europe, and you will be there, and people that are super familiar with SLIQ, both the partners and the people who actually code this beautiful tool, are going to be there to answer any questions, to kind of a challenge them to maybe test it out.
Absolutely. Magic and I will both be there. And we look forward to seeing people who are looking at the journey that you're thinking of going on, and helping you to get that journey really kick-started. Not just giving you software tools, not just giving you consulting tools like SLIQ, but really giving you the background knowledge, the support, and the relationship that you will need to be really, really successful to supercharge that journey. We all know there's two different ways of doing things in business, and we want to make sure that you get the fast track, whatever you want to call it, the rocket ship, the fast track. It's there, it's possible, and between us, we have the software, the services, the knowledge, and the community to help you to accelerate that journey. So everyone will be in London at the Hilton Metropole and Edgware Road between the 10th and the 12th of March. For IT Nation Connect Europe. It's going to be brilliant. Get a guest keynote on day 3 by none other than Daniel Priestley, business growth guru, double diary of a CEO podcast attendee. First one's over 4 million views. His latest one clocked up 250,000 within 24 hours. And Daniel's going to be joining us on the Wednesday. Also keynotes by ConnectWise CEO, Manny Ravello, ConnectWise Chief Product Officer, Jeff Bishop, and then also myself, Peter Kajawa, EVP of IT Nation and Service Leadership. So Peter heads up all things community and service leadership, and also Patrick Beggs, our CISO. So lots and lots of content, 40 plus breakout sessions, and
including the MSP foundations. That should be very, very interesting for the
our MSP foundations workshop on Monday is all about core concepts. So review, people are familiar with Maslow's hierarchy of needs when it comes to leadership, of building the pyramid. View MSP foundations as that baseline layer of our managed services pyramid. How can we give you the 101, the entry, the foundation that you can then grow on? So also, don't worry about coming into a conference and about thinking there could be loads of these acronyms and jargons being thrown around that I won't have a clue what they are. And it's all going to be a bit, I'm going to need a dictionary somewhere. That by attending the foundations track, you will have the ability to set yourself up for success and get that base layer before we then move into the next 2 days of content after Monday.
Thanks so much for your time today, Dan. And well, I'll try to schedule some more time with you to talk about the financial benchmarking then.
Fun with numbers.
Seems to be another interesting topic here.
Absolutely. Magic, thank you so much. And thank you for all you do to help our reseller community to make that, to cross that divide, to really be successful, and not only get the tools and the knowledge, the information that they need, but also to execute on those things at speed and at scale. And that, I think, hopefully people take that away from today's webinar. It's all about giving you what you need, but also supercharging that journey. And thank you for all you do to make that possible. It's genuinely appreciated. And thank you for being a leader and a collaborator with us in the IT Nation. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Speak to you later.